The planet Lysera was alive in a way that most humans could not imagine. Its forests glowed softly under the twin moons, and streams of silver water wound through valleys lined with luminescent plants. The floating cities hung above the land like islands in the sky, held up by technology so advanced that it seemed like magic. From her palace balcony, Princess Kalara watched it all, her violet eyes reflecting the light of the distant stars. She had lived her entire life in the palace, shielded from the world outside. Her people, the Erythians, were a proud and intelligent species who had long avoided contact with humans. Humans were dangerous, her advisors always reminded her. Reckless, unpredictable, chaotic, yet Kalara found herself drawn to them in ways she could not explain. Her parents, the ruling monarchs, had taught her from the day she could speak that humans were a threat to their carefully balanced world. They told her stories of human explorers who had stumbled into alien systems and caused disasters simply because they did not understand the consequences of their actions. Kalara had believed them. She had grown up fearing humans, avoiding even looking at the small, silver ships that occasionally passed through Lysera's sector of space. But fear was only part of the truth. Curiosity tugged at her heart, whispering that there might be more to humans than her people admitted. On one quiet morning, a distant glow appeared in the northern forests. Kalara leaned over the balcony, curious despite herself. The light pulsed strangely, and within moments, she realized it was not natural. A human scout ship had crash-landed. Smoke rose in thin spirals, carrying sparks that glimmered in the forest's luminescent glow. Kalara's heartbeat quickened. According to Erythian law, no human could be allowed to live freely on Lysera, yet she felt a strange pull to watch, to understand. From the shadows of the palace, she observed the small group of humans emerging from the wreck. They were injured and disoriented, but not panicked. One of them stood out immediately. Lieutenant Aiden Cross moved differently from the others. He did not rush. He did not panic. Instead, he carefully checked the surroundings, helping each of his crewmates without wasting time or energy. There was a patience in his movements, a quiet intelligence that caught Kalara off guard. She had expected chaos and destruction, but this human seemed different. Kalara followed them in secret over the next several days, using her species' advanced stealth technology to remain unseen. She watched as Aiden examined the forest, noting plants and creatures with careful attention. When one of his team stepped into a shallow pit, he reacted quickly, pulling the human out and checking for injuries. Kalara's heart swelled with something she could not name. Was this what humans were capable of when they did not act out of fear or greed? One evening, as the twin moons cast their silver light over the forest, Kalara finally made a decision. She could no longer remain a distant observer. Carefully, she activated a holographic cloak that concealed her form and approached the humans. She watched from the shadows as Aiden knelt to help a crew member. His voice was calm, reassuring. "It's okay. You're safe now," he said. His words, simple as they were, carried a weight of empathy that Kalara had never heard from humans before. She stepped forward, revealing herself just enough that Aiden noticed a flicker of light in the trees. He froze, eyes wide. But he did not draw a weapon. Instead, he slowly rose to his feet and studied her with curiosity. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice steady but careful. "I am Kalara," she said softly, unsure whether to reveal her true form. She had been taught that humans could not be trusted, that they might attack without hesitation. Yet Aiden did not move aggressively. He merely studied her, tilting his head as if trying to understand something he had never seen before. I mean no harm," she continued. Her voice sounded strange even to her ears. She had never spoken to a human before, never imagined such a moment could exist. "I am only curious." Aiden nodded slowly, his hand still raised slightly to show he was unarmed. "Curiosity is a good thing," he said. "It's how we learn. And we have much to learn here, it seems." Kalara's heart raced. She had never met a human who spoke like this, who listened, who did not immediately react with violence or fear. Something deep within her shifted. A spark of hope she had not felt before. Perhaps humans were not the monsters her people had described. Perhaps they could be more. Over the next few days, Kaylara and Aiden found ways to communicate more safely. She learned about his world, about human struggles and triumphs, about their capacity for creativity and compassion. He told her stories of Earth, of cities that reached into the clouds, of people who worked tirelessly to solve problems, even when the odds were against them. Kaylara shared what she could of Lizera, careful to protect the secrets her people had guarded for centuries. At first, their meetings were cautious and fleeting. Kaylara would appear for a few minutes and then vanish, retreating to the palace before anyone could notice her absence. But as the days passed, she found herself looking forward to their encounters. Aiden's presence was comforting, grounding. He did not treat her as a curiosity or a prize. He treated her as a person, and in a world where she had always been confined and controlled, this felt revolutionary. One day, a crisis forced Kaylara to act more boldly than ever. A group of Lysira's native predators, large and agile creatures with glowing eyes and sharp claws, discovered the human camp. The humans were unprepared, and panic spread quickly among the injured crew. Kaylara's heart raced. She could not stand by and watch them die. Using her knowledge of the forest, she created a series of distractions and safe paths that guided the humans away from danger. Aiden noticed the subtle changes in the forest, the way obstacles seemed to move or vanish, and followed them without hesitation. When the danger passed, he looked around, realizing that someone had helped them. "Who?" he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. Kaylara remained hidden, her heart pounding. This was the first time she had acted openly to protect humans, and it terrified her. Yet seeing him safe made the risk worth it. Later that night, Kaylara finally approached Aiden directly, revealing her true form in the moonlight. He gasped softly, not in fear, but in awe. Her skin shimmered with faint patterns that seemed to flow like liquid light, her eyes glowing softly in the darkness. And yet, he did not step back. He merely regarded her with careful attention. "You saved us," he said quietly. "Why?" Kaylara hesitated. The words caught in her throat. "I did not want you to die," she admitted. I wanted to know if humans are more than what we are told." Aiden nodded slowly, understanding more than she expected. "We are," he said simply. "Humans can be reckless, yes. But we can also be kind, clever, and brave. Sometimes, we surprise even ourselves." Kaylara felt something she had never felt before: trust. Not blind trust, not the naive trust of a child, but the careful, deliberate trust that comes from seeing truth in someone's actions. She realized that Aiden was not just a human. He was a symbol of what humanity could be at its best. As the nights passed, Kaylara and Aiden continued to meet, sharing knowledge and stories. She taught him about Lysera's forests, its floating cities, and the delicate balance of its ecosystems. He shared stories of Earth, of humans building, creating, surviving, and helping one another even when the odds were against them. Each encounter deepened their understanding of each other, and Kaylara began to see a world beyond the strict isolationism of her people. But Kaylara also knew the danger. If her advisors discovered her contact with humans, the consequences could be severe. She could be punished, or worse, the humans could be expelled or destroyed. The thought of losing Aiden, losing this chance to see humans for who they truly were, made her chest tighten. And yet, the more she learned, the more she realized that avoiding humans entirely might mean losing a chance to change everything for the better. In the quiet moments before dawn, Kaylara stood on her balcony again, looking toward the forest where Aiden and his team had set up their temporary camp. The twin moons reflected off the silver streams below, casting a gentle glow on the land. For the first time, she felt that the universe was not something to fear, but something to explore. And perhaps, just perhaps, humans were not a threat at all. They were a challenge, a mystery, and maybe, a friend waiting to be understood. And as the first light of Lysera's sun crept over the horizon, Kalara made a silent promise to herself. She would continue to observe, to learn, to test the limits of what she had been taught. She would not abandon her people, but she would not abandon the possibility of understanding, either. The humans had arrived, and with them, the spark of change had begun. Kalara did not yet know how far this path would take her. She did not yet know the choices she would face, the dangers she would encounter, or the lessons she would learn. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. Her world, and perhaps the galaxy itself, would never be the same again. The forest of Lysera seemed to hum with life as the days passed. Each night, its glowing plants and soft silver streams illuminated the small camp where Aiden and his crew had made temporary shelter. Kalara observed them from the shadows at first, as she always had, yet now, her visits were longer, and her presence more deliberate. She no longer just watched, they were no longer strangers to her. Aiden had noticed subtle changes in the forest paths. Obstacles seemed to shift in ways that made travel easier. Dangerous animals appeared to avoid the humans, and strange paths appeared where there had been none before. At first, he had thought it was coincidence, the work of chance. But then he realized that someone, or something, was guiding them. Whoever it was, they meant no harm. One evening, as the moons rose high in the sky, Kalara decided to meet him directly. She stepped into the clearing, her form concealed in a shimmering holographic cloak that hid her alien features. Aiden was alone, checking his maps, unaware of her presence until she spoke. "Lieutenant Cross," she said softly, her voice carrying through the quiet night. Aiden froze, then slowly turned. His eyes scanned the shadowed figure before him. Cautious, but calm. "Who's there?" he asked, steady despite the tension in the air. "I am Kalara," she replied. "I am the one helping you. I have been guiding you, keeping you safe." Aiden's brow furrowed in thought. "You? Why? Why would someone help us? Humans are not supposed to be welcome here." "I am," Kalara hesitated. She had never spoken to a human like this before. I wanted to see. I wanted to know if humans are more than my people say. I wanted to see if you could survive here without harming Lysera." Aiden's lips curved into a small smile. "We try to survive everywhere," he said simply. "Sometimes we fail, but we try." Kalara was struck by the simplicity and honesty of his words. Humans, she realized, did not need to boast of their strength or abilities. Their actions proved more than any words ever could. Over the following days, Kalara began to guide the humans more openly, though still cautiously. She led them around dangerous areas, warned them of predators, and even showed them secret pathways through the forest. In return, Aiden shared small pieces of human knowledge: how to construct makeshift shelters, how to identify edible plants, and ways to purify water without harming the environment. Kalara was fascinated. Humans were clever. Their adaptability was remarkable, unlike the Erythians, who relied heavily on advanced technology and strict rules. Humans could improvise, adjust, and overcome obstacles with what little they had. One day, disaster struck. A massive storm swept across the northern forest, the wind howling through the trees, and rain lashing down in sheets. The humans struggled to keep their shelters intact. Kalara knew she had to act. She guided them to a hidden cave, using secret paths that only she knew. The cave was dry and safe, large enough to shelter all of them from the storm's fury. As the humans settled in, Aiden looked around, finally realizing the truth. "Someone brought us here," he said aloud. "Someone is watching over us." Kalara revealed herself fully, stepping into the light of the cave. Her skin shimmered faintly, and her eyes glowed like liquid amethyst. Aiden stared, awestruck, but he did not draw a weapon. Instead, he studied her carefully, as if trying to understand her without judgment. "You are incredible," he said softly. "I've never seen anything like you." Kalara's cheeks flushed slightly. Compliments were not common in her culture, and she felt an unfamiliar warmth in her chest. "I am Kalara," she said again. "I mean no harm. I only wish to help you survive and learn." Aiden nodded slowly. "I believe you. I can see it in your actions. That is more important than words." The storm raged outside, but inside the cave, a strange sense of calm settled over them. Kalara and Aiden began to talk for hours. She shared knowledge about Lysera's forests, its wildlife, and the delicate balance that kept the ecosystem alive. He shared stories of Earth, of humans striving to explore space, build cities, and understand the universe. Kalara was fascinated by the human spirit. Unlike her people, who valued perfection and control, humans embraced imperfection, struggle, and growth. Over the following weeks, their bond deepened. Kalara grew to trust Aiden, and he, in turn, learned to trust her. They began to rely on each other not just for survival, but for understanding. Kalara realized that humans were capable of compassion, intelligence, and courage in ways her people often overlooked. Aiden saw that not all alien species were cold or distant. Lysera was alive, thoughtful, and beautiful, and Kalara embodied the best of her people. But their growing friendship was not without danger. Kalara's advisors noticed her absences from the palace and began to question her actions. Rumors spread quickly. Some Erythians suspected that humans had somehow infiltrated the royal palace, while others feared that Kalara herself was acting against tradition. The council demanded answers, but Kalara remained cautious. She could not reveal Aiden's presence, not yet. Doing so could provoke a political crisis, or worse, lead to the humans being forced to leave or be destroyed. One afternoon, Kalara observed a group of her people preparing patrols near the northern forest. Aiden noticed her worry. "You're afraid they'll find out," he said gently. Kalara nodded. "If they see you, or even suspect, it could change everything. My people might react with anger or fear." Aiden studied her face. "Then we need to be careful. We stay hidden until we are ready. But hiding doesn't mean we cannot learn from each other." Kalara smiled faintly, grateful for his understanding. Humans often acted recklessly, but Aiden was patient and thoughtful. He thought before acting, and he respected the lives of others, including Kalara's people. For the first time, she felt that humans could be more than what her people believed. They could be allies, even friends. One night, as they camped near a quiet stream, Kalara shared a story from her childhood. She spoke of the floating cities, the forests, and the palace, but also of the loneliness she had felt growing up. "I have never known anyone who understands me," she admitted. "Not truly. My people respect me, but they do not understand me. They do not see what I see." Aiden listened carefully. "I understand," he said softly. "Being alone in a world that doesn't understand you. I know that feeling too. But we don't have to face it alone. Not anymore." Kalara felt a warmth in her chest at his words. Humans were so different from her people, yet there was a truth in what he said. Perhaps she did not have to face her fears and her curiosity alone. Perhaps trust could exist between them, even across the barriers of species and culture. The next morning, Kalara decided to take a greater risk. She led Aiden to a hidden grove filled with rare plants and crystals that glowed softly in the sunlight. "This is one of the sacred places of my people," she said. "Few are allowed here. It is a place of learning and reflection." Aiden looked around in awe. "It's beautiful," he said. "Your world. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. It's alive in a way Earth isn't." Kalara nodded. "It is alive, but it is fragile. That is why my people fear humans. They think you might destroy what you do not understand." Aiden stepped closer, his eyes meeting hers. Not all humans are like that. Some of us, we want to learn, to protect, to understand. We can help, not just take. Kalara studied him carefully. His words were not empty promises. She had seen his actions. He had saved his crew, respected the forest, and treated her with patience and care. Slowly, she began to believe him. Slowly, the walls she had built around her curiosity began to crumble. Days turned into weeks, and the humans began to adapt to Lysera with Kylara's guidance. They learned to avoid dangerous areas, understand the behavior of local creatures, and even use some of Lysera's natural resources without harming the environment. In return, they taught Kalara more about humanity, about their resilience, creativity, and the drive to overcome impossible odds. Kalara realized that this exchange of knowledge was more than just survival. It was a bridge between species, a chance for two very different worlds to understand each other. And at the center of it all was Aiden, a human who had shown her the truth she had long suspected, that humans could be more than fear and chaos. They could be allies, friends, even partners in building a better future. But even as Kalara felt hope, a shadow lingered. Her people's council would not ignore her absences forever. And the humans were still vulnerable. One mistake, one discovery, could undo everything they had worked for. Kalara knew that the coming days would test her courage, her wisdom, and her trust in Aiden, and that the future of Lysera itself might depend on their choices. And so, beneath the glowing moons of Lysera, two unlikely allies continued to walk the path of discovery, learning from each other, and slowly, unknowingly, preparing for a future that neither of them could have imagined. The weeks of secret meetings and careful guidance had created a bond between Kalara and Aiden, but it also increased the risks. Whispers began to circulate through the palace. Servants and advisors noticed her absences, her subtle changes in behavior, and her distracted expression. Some believed she was simply dreaming or lost in thought, but others were not so sure. A few council members began to suspect that the princess might be engaging with humans directly, a thought that shocked many and infuriated others. Humans had been seen as dangerous intruders for centuries, and the idea that the heir to the throne might interact with them was almost unthinkable. One morning, Kalara received a summons to the council chamber. Her heart tightened as she walked through the palace corridors. She knew that the council would question her, perhaps even reprimand her, but she could not reveal Aiden's presence, not yet. Doing so could jeopardize everything, not just for the humans, but for herself as well. The council was waiting, their expressions stern and unforgiving. "Princess Kalara," one elder said, "we have noticed unusual activity in the northern forests. Patrols report signs of humans moving through protected areas. Are you responsible for this?" Kalara remained calm, though her heart raced. "I have been studying the forest," she said. "I noticed changes in the ecosystem, and I wanted to understand them. That is all." Some council members frowned, unconvinced. "It is impossible to study the forest without entering areas humans could reach," another said. "We know your loyalty, princess. But the safety of Lysera must come first. Any human presence is a threat. We cannot allow exceptions." Kalara bowed her head, understanding the weight of their words. She could not tell them the truth. Not yet. Instead, she promised herself that she would be even more careful. The human survival depended on her secrecy, and she would not fail them. Back in the forest, Aiden noticed her tension immediately. "Something happened at the palace," he said, concern in his voice. "Are you all right?" Kalara shook her head. "The council suspects something. They are watching me more closely. We must be careful." Aiden nodded thoughtfully. "Then we need a plan. We cannot stay in one place too long. If we are discovered, it could be dangerous for both of us." Kalara agreed, and together they began to strategize. She taught him more about Lysera's hidden paths, secret caves, and areas where the forest itself could provide cover. He, in turn, helped her think like a human, anticipating mistakes, planning contingencies, and preparing for the unexpected. One evening, as the twin moons rose high in the sky, Kaylara and Aiden were deep in discussion near a sparkling waterfall when a sudden roar echoed through the forest. A massive creature, unlike any Aiden had seen before, emerged from the shadows. Its glowing eyes were fixed on them, and its enormous claws dug into the soft ground. Kaylara's heart raced. This was one of Lysera's apex predators, a creature that could kill easily if provoked. "Stay behind me," she said quickly, her voice steady despite her fear. Aiden followed her lead, trusting her knowledge of the forest. Together, they moved carefully, using the terrain to their advantage. Kaylara guided him to a narrow canyon, where the creature could not reach them easily. She whispered instructions, and Aiden followed precisely, moving with skill and focus. After what felt like hours, the predator finally lost interest and returned to the shadows. Both of them were breathless, their hearts pounding. "That was close," Aiden said, trying to keep his voice calm. "But we survived." "Together," Kaylara nodded, a mixture of relief and pride swelling within her. She realized that humans could act with courage and intelligence, even in situations that seemed impossible. Aiden had not panicked. He had not relied solely on her knowledge. He had adapted, thought quickly, and trusted her guidance. In the following days, their bond deepened further. Kaylara began to see Aiden not just as a human, but as a partner in navigating her world. They shared ideas, strategies, and even small moments of humor. She discovered that humans had a resilience that was different from the Erythians' structured intelligence. Humans learned through trial and error, through mistakes, and through persistence. This adaptability fascinated Kaylara, but their time together was not without challenges. One day, while scouting a new area, Aiden discovered a small team of Erythian soldiers moving through the forest. They were patrolling the area for signs of humans, and their presence meant immediate danger. Kaylara's heart sank. If they found Aiden and his crew, it could lead to their capture or worse. "We need to move quickly," she whispered, her eyes scanning the terrain. "This way. Follow me exactly." Aiden followed her instructions, trusting her completely. Kaylara led them through hidden tunnels, across unstable bridges of glowing crystal, and into a dense grove where the trees formed a natural barrier. They held their breath as the Erythian soldiers passed, their footsteps echoing through the forest but never detecting the humans hidden in the shadows. When the danger had passed, Aiden looked at Kaylara with a mixture of awe and gratitude. "I don't know how you did that," he said. "You saved us again." Kaylara smiled faintly, a sense of satisfaction mixed with worry. "It is not just me," she said. "We survive because we work together. Humans are clever, yes, but so am I. Together, we can overcome much more than alone." Their partnership continued, but Kaylara knew that the situation was becoming increasingly dangerous. The Council's suspicion grew, and the humans were still vulnerable in the foreign world. She realized that a decisive choice would soon be necessary. She could continue to hide them, risking discovery and punishment, or she could find a way to prove to her people that humans were not a threat. One night, as they camped beneath the glowing canopy of the forest, Kaylara turned to Aiden. "There is a way," she said, her voice low and urgent. "We can show my people that humans can be trusted, that we can work together. But it is risky. It may anger the Council, or it may change everything." Aiden looked at her, his expression calm but determined. "Then we take the risk," he said. "We show them what humans can do. Not through words, but through actions." Kaylara nodded, feeling a mixture of fear and excitement. Together, they began to plan a bold move. They would access an ancient Erythian communication network, a system used by the Council to share knowledge across Lysera. If they could broadcast evidence of humans' cooperation, intelligence, and respect for the planet, it might convince the Council to reconsider their hostility. Over the next few days, Kaylara and Aiden worked tirelessly. They mapped the palace's secret corridors, navigated hidden passages, and bypassed security systems that had protected Lysera for centuries. Every step was fraught with danger, and Kaylara's heart raced with the thought of discovery. But she trusted Aiden's skills, and he trusted her knowledge of the world. Finally, they reached the central hub of the communication network. Kalara's hands trembled slightly as she activated the system. Holographic screens lit up around them, displaying streams of data, messages, and visual feeds from across Lysera. Aiden looked at the technology with fascination. "It's incredible," he said. "The knowledge here. It's beyond anything we've seen." Kalara nodded. "And we must use it wisely. We will show the Council that humans are not a threat, that we can help Lysera, not harm it." Together, they compiled a message. It included footage of the humans surviving in the forest without harming it, examples of cooperation between humans and Kalara, and evidence of respect for Lysera's delicate ecosystem. Every detail was carefully chosen to demonstrate humanity's intelligence, adaptability, and moral integrity. When the message was ready, Kalara hesitated for a moment. "Once this is sent, there is no turning back," she said. Aiden reached out, placing a hand gently on hers. "Then we send it. We trust that truth will be stronger than fear." Kalara nodded and activated the broadcast. Across Lysera, the council members' screens lit up with the message. Images of humans working carefully within the forest, guided by Kalara's wisdom, appeared. The message was clear. Humans were capable of cooperation, intelligence, and respect for Lysera. The palace erupted in discussion. Some council members were astonished, others skeptical, but no one could deny the evidence. Humans had not harmed the planet. They had adapted, learned, and even enhanced understanding of the forest. Kalara stood quietly, her heart pounding, as the council debated the implications. Finally, one elder spoke, breaking the silence. "Perhaps we have judged too quickly," he said. "Perhaps humans are capable of more than we assumed. This proof cannot be ignored." Kalara's chest swelled with a mixture of relief and pride. She had risked everything, but the gamble had paid off. Humans had been given a chance not just to survive, but to be recognized as allies. Aiden smiled at her, a quiet satisfaction in his eyes. "We did it," he said softly. Kalara smiled back. "Yes," she whispered. Together, the path ahead was still uncertain. There would be challenges, adjustments, and negotiations, but the first step had been taken. Humans and Erythians had seen each other clearly, without fear or prejudice, and for Kalara, that was more than she had ever hoped for. The council chamber was tense as the final discussions unfolded. Screens displayed the images Kalara and Aiden had broadcast. Humans working carefully in the forest, respecting the delicate balance of Lysera's ecosystems, and demonstrating intelligence, compassion, and adaptability. The council members whispered among themselves, some shocked, some skeptical, but none could deny what they had seen. The humans had not harmed Lysera. They had survived and learned with care and thoughtfulness. Kalara stood at the edge of the chamber, her heart pounding. She had risked everything, her position, her reputation, even her safety, to prove that humans were not the threat her people had been taught to fear. Now, the moment of truth had arrived. Would her people accept this evidence, or would fear and tradition triumph over reason? One elder rose, his voice carrying through the chamber. "For centuries, we have taught that humans are reckless and dangerous, yet these images show something different. They show humans learning, adapting, and working with our world, not against it. Perhaps it is time to reconsider our judgment." Another council member shook her head. "This is only one group, one small team. Can we trust that all humans will act with such care? What if others come and destroy what we have worked so hard to protect?" Kalara stepped forward, her voice steady despite the nerves in her chest. "It is not about trusting all humans blindly," she said. "It is about understanding that humans, like any species, have potential. They can create, learn, and grow. They can be allies if we allow them the chance to prove it. Lieutenant Aiden Cross has shown us this. He has shown us that humans are capable of respect, intelligence, and compassion. We cannot ignore that possibility." The chamber was silent for a long moment. Kalara's words had weight, but tradition ran deep. Finally, the eldest of the council spoke. The evidence is compelling. Humans have demonstrated qualities we thought impossible. If we act wisely, we might gain knowledge, cooperation, and understanding from them. I propose that we allow a controlled collaboration, monitored carefully, to see if humans can truly coexist with Lysera. The council members debated for hours, weighing tradition against evidence, fear against curiosity. Kalara remained calm, though her mind raced. She knew this was only the first step. Humans would not be fully accepted overnight. They would need to prove themselves, and she would need to guide them carefully. But the tide had turned. The first bridge had been built. Meanwhile, in the northern forest, Aiden and his crew waited anxiously. They had received messages from Kalara indicating that the council was in session and that the humans' future rested on the outcome. The team stayed close to their temporary shelters, aware of the stakes. Aiden's mind replayed the past weeks, the dangers they had faced, the moments of trust and collaboration, and the bond that had grown between him and Kalara. He knew that whatever happened next would shape the relationship between humans and Lysera forever. When the council's decision finally came, a message was transmitted to the forest. Humans were allowed to continue their presence on Lysera under specific conditions. They would cooperate with the Erythians, learn from them, and contribute knowledge without harming the planet. The council emphasized that trust must be earned continuously, but the door had been opened. Aiden exhaled deeply, relief flooding him. "We did it," he said quietly, a smile breaking across his face. His crew gathered around, their faces reflecting the same mixture of relief and excitement. "We survived, we learned, and we've been given a chance to work with them. This is just the beginning." Kalara appeared before them, her presence radiant under the twin moons. "You have done well," she said softly. "Not just in surviving, but in proving what humans can achieve when they act with care and respect. I am proud of you, all of you." Aiden stepped forward, meeting her gaze. "I couldn't have done it without you," he said. "Your guidance, your trust, it made all the difference." Kalara felt a warmth in her chest at his words. For the first time, she truly understood what it meant to see humans not as a threat, but as potential partners. They had faced danger together, shared knowledge, and built trust. And now, their efforts had opened a path for collaboration between two very different species. In the following weeks, humans and Erythians began to work side by side. The humans learned about Lysera's ecosystems, the floating cities, and the delicate balance that kept the planet alive. They contributed human ingenuity, creating tools and systems that complemented the Erythians' advanced technology. Together, they explored new ways to cultivate the forests without causing harm, to navigate the rivers safely, and to study Lysera's unique flora and fauna. Kalara guided them carefully, ensuring that their actions aligned with her people's values. She became a bridge between worlds, translating human ideas into terms the Erythians could understand, and explaining Erythian principles to the humans. The collaboration was not without challenges. Misunderstandings arose, and cultural differences occasionally caused tension. But with patience, communication, and mutual respect, the humans and Erythians began to learn from each other. Aiden proved to be an exceptional partner. He was patient, thoughtful, and always willing to listen. He encouraged his crew to observe carefully, ask questions, and respect the planet. His leadership style impressed the Erythians, who began to see that humans were not merely reckless explorers, but capable allies with unique strengths. One day, as Kalara and Aiden surveyed a new area of the forest together, they came across a grove of ancient trees whose branches glowed softly in the sunlight. Kalara paused, touching the bark gently. "This grove is sacred," she said. "It has stood for thousands of years. Few are allowed here." Aiden looked around in awe. "It's incredible," he said. "Your world, it's alive in ways I never imagined." Kalara smiled faintly. "It is alive. but it must be respected. Humans must learn this, if they are to coexist with Lysera. Aiden nodded. We will. I promise. Not just my crew, but humanity itself. We can learn, adapt, and protect. We can be allies, not invaders. Kalara's heart swelled. The bond she had formed with Aiden was no longer just about curiosity. It was about trust, understanding, and hope. She realized that humans had changed her world, not through force, but through their willingness to learn and to work together. As the days turned into weeks, humans and Erythians began to explore new possibilities together. They developed technologies that combined Erythian precision with human creativity. They shared knowledge about the stars, about ecosystems, and about the ways different species could coexist. The collaboration inspired both sides, showing that cooperation could achieve more than isolation or fear ever could. Kalara watched the humans at work, her heart light with hope. They were no longer outsiders. They were partners, capable of contributing to Lysera's future. And at the center of it all was Aiden, the soldier who had changed everything not through conquest or aggression, but through courage, intelligence, and respect. One evening, as the twin moons rose high in the sky, Kalara and Aiden stood together on a cliff overlooking the glowing forests below. The rivers shimmered like silver threads, and the floating cities hung above the land like islands in the sky. Lysera had always been beautiful, but now it seemed even more alive, more vibrant, more full of possibility. You changed everything, Kalara said softly, her eyes reflecting the light of the moons. Not just for me, but for my people. You showed us that humans can be more than fear and destruction. You showed us that we can work together. Aiden smiled, a quiet warmth in his expression. We did it together, he said. Humans and Erythians. Trust and cooperation. Not fear and isolation. That's what changes the world. Kalara nodded. For the first time, she felt that the universe was not something to be feared, but something to be shared. Humans had arrived, and with them came the promise of understanding, collaboration, and hope. The future of Lysera was no longer limited by fear or tradition. It was a future shaped by trust, courage, and the willingness to see beyond differences. And at the heart of that future, Kalara and Aiden stood together, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, confident that humanity and their partnership could rise to meet them. The story of the alien princess and the human soldier spread quietly across Lysera, a tale of trust, bravery, and the power of understanding. It inspired both humans and Erythians to look beyond fear, to see the potential in each other, and to work together to create a better world. And as Kalara gazed at the horizon, where the first light of Lysera's sun kissed the forests, she realized something profound. Her world, once limited by isolation and fear, was now open to infinite possibilities. Humanity had changed her entire world, not through force, but through trust, courage, and the willingness to act with heart and mind together. The future was bright, the possibilities endless, and the bond between two species, the humans and the Erythians, stronger than anyone could have imagined. Kalara knew that with understanding, patience, and cooperation, no challenge was insurmountable, and no dream too distant. The galaxy had witnessed the beginning of a new era, one where humans were not feared as conquerors, but celebrated as allies. And at the heart of it all, Kalara and Aiden stood side by side, proof that even across the vastness of space and the differences of worlds, understanding and courage could unite them, and in doing so, change everything.